What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the debut project by Mike Bars. Basically, this project is called 16 Bars, and it came out in 2013. Now, the thing about Mike Bars is he's actually pretty low-key. He doesn't really have a Wikipedia page about him, and you can basically, there's not terribly many places to really find out biography information about him, one of which would just be his own website, which is basically where you can find this mixtape for purchase. It's not readily available, like it's not on Amazon, it's not on iTunes, places like that where you would find most music digitally or physically, that type of stuff. But I just would have to say, yeah, you could go to mikebars.com, pick up this project, and basically you have to get some of his merchandise to really get it. But that's kind of the concept about it. This is a pretty good project here. It's got some decent stuff on it. Back in the day, Jackal Goldkick introduced me to Mike Bars by showing me the song There Will Be Blood, which has Swizz on there from Funk Volume, or at least what was formerly Funk Volume. So a good perk about this project is just the fact that this whole mixtape is hosted by DJ Hoppa, who is Hopsin's Funk Volume label's DJ. So basically Mike Bars had a pretty good heavy affiliation with Funk Volume early on. So it's pretty dope to kind of have that. Swizz is on here at least once. Dizzy Wright does like an intro to his song, so it's interesting enough to kind of get that. And DJ Hoppa does a couple like interspersements kind of throughout this particular mixtape. So some good stuff on here. I just would have to say I like the concept of Mike Bars. He kind of reminds me of like a cross between Linkin Park's Chester Bennington and then someone like a cross between Linkin Park's Chester Bennington and then JJ Demon. He definitely kind of has some of those distinctions about him. I would definitely have to say, like, JJ Demon's kind of an emo rapper, and initially when I first heard Mike Bars, I thought he was going to have a ton of songs like There Will Be Blood. This is kind of a misnomer of a song. I feel like There Will Be Blood is kind of a misnomer of a song just because he doesn't really have a ton of songs directly like that song, where that's kind of like some gothic kind of horrorcore kind of emo rap. There Will Be Blood, but I kind of feel like the rest of this album doesn't really have that attachment. Now it is some good stuff, but it is kind of is more central kind of vanilla hip hop as opposed to just being gothically oriented, which is, if you come to this project, if you go to Mike Barr's website and you want to purchase this project and have it and own it and that type of stuff, and you're looking for more songs like this with Swizz and some of that type of stuff, it doesn't really have much of anything else like that. But there is some good stuff on here, just would have to say. But we'll go ahead and talk about the singles to kind of get towards this. This is some pretty dope stuff here. I would have to say it's worth the purchase, actually getting it. You can get some of Mike Bars' clothing. He has other projects up on there that I'm going to review eventually. We'll get to some more of those, but I just would have to say this is some good stuff. I've fucked with it for a few years now. Just would have to say it's some good stuff on here. I think nowadays you can basically find 16 bars on YouTube. I would have to say, I think someone finally posted 16 bars on YouTube, so it's finally available, but just a few years ago it really wasn't. So I look after the concept of just being able to say, we'll go ahead and talk about the single of this particular mixtape, and then we'll get to the rest of the songs I recommend. So the first single is There Will Be Blood, and this is the only real single on here, but it's an original song. It has Swizz from Funk Volume. Hopsin's buddy Swizz is on this particular song. It's a pretty dope song to kind of get. This is a dark horrorcore type night venue gem, I would have to say, and it reminds me lightly of Hopsin. So this sort of stuff, I do like the concept of getting this one. It really kind of feels like a rowdy and kind of just overall glimmering kind of dark horrorcore type gem as far as that kind of goes. Just a nice kind of, I mean, it really just feels like Bats in the Belfry type stuff as far as that kind of goes. Just a gnarled kind of, or just like a riveting kind of spook of a song. It's just unfortunate there's not really any other songs like this particular one. This is kind of just, like, I don't want to say it's a full-blown misnomer because there is some quality on here, but it just is kind of like a misadvertisement just because this is really just like a stark kind of one and done kind of particular format as far as that kind of goes. I would almost, I think Swizz, yeah, I mean, Swizz handles this song real well. This song feels like it's fit for Swizz, definitely, I would have to say, as far as that kind of went. They're a good pairing, Mike Bars and Swizz. I definitely feel about that. This is a good overall song to kind of get, but it's just kind of the concept that, yeah, it's just a one shot. So I look after some good horrorcore, just a nice one. Reminds me of something that Tech Nine, Hopsin, Swizz, some of those type cats would do. And I think that horrorcore fits Mike Bars pretty well, just to go ahead and say about that. This is a good single, has a great chorus on there. It's just a real kind of catchy one. I want to say that this song, the music video, got over 1 million plays on YouTube. So it really did have some distinct popularity. But I think most folks probably thought, oh, probably just, where did he go? Where did Mike Bars go? What happened? And then shrugged about it. And that was just kind of the thing. But there is some other quality stuff on here. And this 16 Bars mixtape is pretty dope besides that. So On this 16 bars mixtape, it says that there's 16 songs, 16 bars, 1 bar for every song on here, but there's actually a bonus song on here called P-Town. So out of 17 songs, I wound up recommending to you 9. So I'll go ahead and recommend those 9 songs. So those 9 songs would be There Will Be Blood, Hustlin' Ill, That's My Name, Am I the Dopest, Same Old G, P-Town, Cheerios, True Dat, and Boyfriend. So some of these ones, there are some ones on here. There are some songs on here that are the other instrumentals, like "Fuck You Pay Me" is a Wiz Khalifa song that was on his One Night in First Class album. I forget what that song is called. I think it's like, oh, it's the lead single off of One Night in First Class. Boyfriend from 2012, Justin Bieber's Boyfriend song is on here. There's an Usher song on here in the song High. And there's a Frank Ocean song and Thinking About You. Those are at least some ones that I noticed, but some of these R&B ones don't quite work as well. We'll get to that as time goes along, but Boyfriend is definitely one that works pretty well. I'll go ahead and talk about this song. So Boyfriend is kind of like a more gnarled and sarcastic, kind of just more like prick version of like Justin Bieber's kind of version of this song. I definitely like the concept of this one. It's a more gnarled version of that. It gives it kind of some toxic bite, I would have to say, and the song's a pretty good vibe. So I like the concept of it. I mean, obviously, if you just want the typical kind of more boyfriend fare, I would just say listen to the Justin Bieber song, but this kind of gives it a little bit of more, like a more stark kind of edge about it that just kind of has some good context about it. So it's good to kind of see that, just because for the most part on rap mixtapes, it's not often that Justin Bieber really gets freestyles or remixes or that type of stuff. So it's interesting that this one kind of happened on here. It's a good concept. I did like Cheerios. This is a pretty good song. Cheerios is definitely a nice one. This is a swashed and kind of lackadaisical summer fare, I would have to say. It's some mellow 40 sipping music, definitely, and it's a good hangout gem. This one just has a really kind of swash kind of beat and just overall feels very kind of laid back and just mellow, just in like a really kind of drunken sense. This really swashbuckling type tune. Just, I mean, it's not swashbuckling like 1800 style, but it's just swashbuckling just in terms of this drunken kind of bar visiting and just kind of being laid back and just kind of mellow and that type of stuff. Definitely like that one. Just really lazy beat. I'm almost curious if it was like from the Will Smith song Summer or whatever that song was called, Summertime, something like that. Not really sure because I don't know that song. I would say Cheerios is a pretty good swash beat on here. P-Town is a nice one. This is a mixtape beat off of Ja Rule's New York. This is another mixtape beat that's kind of on here. It's a good retread of Ja Rule's New York, I would have to say. It's some low-key lyrical fire. All three of the rappers on here do pretty damn well. Mike Bars can keep, or the other two cats can keep up with Mike Bars pretty well. Mike Bars does a good job. He's pretty lyrical on here. Some lyrical fire, and it's just it's some good traverse fare. So this is just kind of, I mean, this feels a little bit more residential and local compared to Ja Rule's New York, where that one's just a little bit larger scale in terms of that. But definitely for mixtape fare, I would say that this is a pretty good bop just to kind of cruise around and just kind of, pick up liquor and that type of stuff, get some Jack Daniels, get some stuff like that, get some Hennessy, some of those type moments, just cruise around, visit like some hole in the wall nightclubs, that type of stuff. As far as that kind of goes, just some good bops for that. Definitely like that. The beat of New York is pretty excellent, so I think P-Town is definitely one that folks should like. Same Old G is a lazy summer evening haze of a song, I would have to say. It's a good smoke a joint tune, definitely, and it's just got a simmering kind of dope beat. So this is another kind of lazy summer song, just like Cheerios, definitely, but this one's a little bit more, I mean, it's a little bit peppier, but still basically a pretty lazy, almost country-like tune as far as that kind of goes. Just a real nice kickback countryside type tune as far as that's kind of concerned. Just real smoke a joint type tune. Just really have some snacks, that type of stuff. Get some Burger King, some stuff like that. Just kind of kick back a bit and have a good time. Definitely a good concept. Hustlin' Ill is a synthy gem for getting ready to step out. I would have to say it's some good evening excitement, definitely. So the concept about this one is it's just a little bit more lively. Just has some good fare about it. Just a good, nice one to kind of have for like a little bit of a litty sense. Like I do feel like There Will Be Blood and maybe a couple other ones like That's My Name are probably some of the more litty ones on here. But I definitely feel like Hustlin' Ill is just a getting ready to kind of, this one should just give you a little bit of excitement. Definitely kind of one for just being kind of just exhilarated and kind of having some good times for knowing that the night's getting ready to be pretty good and that type of stuff. It's not quite a club song, but it can be. It can definitely be like some early night venue music as far as that kind of goes. Just like the concept of getting it's like some good thrilling ones that just have a good sense. But I definitely think, obviously, like There Will Be Blood is probably the breadwinner in terms of like the overall sheer energy and just night fare. But I feel like Hustlin' Ill is probably a song that leads up to that song, so that's a good one. That's My Name That's My Name is a really good one on here. This is a low key, kind of rowdy rap rock club track, definitely. It reminds me of Tech Nine, especially in the chorus, and this is just one that has like a good overall feel about it. This is definitely an underground champion of a song. This one's just a little bit more underground and not quite as flossy and stunt like compared to There Will Be Blood, but it's definitely a good pairing to have with that particular song. They both work in like a good night venue kind of sense, even though There Will Be Blood is more vehicle prone and a little bit more flashy of a song. I feel like That's My Name is a good promotional single type tune that just really has like an underground feel that just is very edgy and just has that particular kind of underground edge about it that works. That's a nice one. Am I the Dopest? Am I the Dopest is definitely a pretty stellar one on here. This has like a creeping, slinky beat, and it reminds me a lot of Slim Shady era Eminem, I would have to say, and it's just an overall good posse bop. So this is definitely a good one. I like some of these ones that Mike Bars has some other rappers on here because they all do good jobs. None of these rappers really slouch. I mean, even though they're not heavily known, I'm not sure if some of these cats had like discographies and stuff like that where they had their own mixtapes and projects and that sort of stuff. I do feel like they're at least good on these particular songs with Mike Bars, and I do have some good stuff on here. So yeah, I would say Am I the Dopest is definitely a really creeping kind of song. This is, I guess, when I said that there weren't tons of other horrorcore songs, this is at least one that at least feels like October, September kind of autumn music that's just a little bit creepy and has a little bit of like a slight kind of this leery kind of edge about it that just kind of gives it some of that. I don't think it's full blown horrorcore like There Will Be Blood, but I do think it's pretty close to. It's in the neighboring community. Am I the Dopest? It's definitely kind of a manic Eminem like song, so I like that one. True Dad is kind of an offhanded one, but I like this one. It's kind of a late game flat dap song, I would have to say, and it's just some good. It's a good early evening bop. Definitely, it's just something that I would listen to in like the 5:30, 6:30 p.m. hours. Just this is just something I would listen to in the 5:30, 6:30 p.m. hours as the sun's starting to set and that type of stuff. Definitely a good one for that. And it's just a two-step kind of song. I feel like this has like a little mini jive, a little bit of a mini two-step dance song that you can do and that type of stuff. And it just has like a Dr. Dre like beat. So it's interesting kind of get this one. This just feels like a Dr. Dre beat that he would have given to like Devin the Dude or Exhibit or something like that. Some cat this that he only produces like one or two songs for, something like that. It just really feels like a West Coast beat, and kind of feels like a West Coast beat in a small sense, but I do like the concept of getting this one. So just a good entry kind of song and dap song definitely to kind of have. So I like the concept of True Dat. It's just an overall nice one. I want to say this is an original beat. There's some ones on here like I feel like Am I the Dopest, maybe Same Old G, maybe Cheerios, True Dat, Hustlin' Ill, That's My Name, and There Will Be Blood are some of the new ones. Now, I'm not for 100% certain about every one of those ones I listed, but there's definitely some ones on here. I do think that there's more than a handful of new beats on here. It's just kind of mixed in as far as that kind of goes, but I like the concept overall of it. So there's just some good bops on here to kind of have. I definitely want to say I'm fairly certain that That's My Name is a new beat, I would have to say, and probably True Dat is one also. So it's just some good ones to kind of have. Most of the new songs that Mike Bars did on here really kick ass and just work extremely well. Just would have to kind of say and stuff that these just happen to be some ones that are worth the investment. It's just overall some good projected kind of ones. Now the thing about it is I do feel like There Will Be Blood is probably like the biggest flashy one and just like a stunting kind of flossing kind of sense for stepping out. And I do feel like That's My Name is probably the most rowdy one with like the most kind of ravenous energy in terms of like a promotional single kind of format just to kind of have for like some stepping out. But there are some other ones on here. There's just some good vibes and just overall kind of like the energy is manic but not crazy, and that's kind of the thing about it. It's just kind of like these are more bubblers more so than boilers, but I do like the concept of getting some of these just because it just has like a good concept of just harnessing energy but not full-blown exploiting it. And that's just kind of the thing. I think the advent about this particular project is it's good, but it just doesn't get full-blown as this project doesn't get as full-blown manically crazy as it probably could, but it's not as if it's a bad project. So to talk about some of the songs I didn't enjoy on here, for the most part, it's just some poor mixtape choices for songs to make songs of your own. Like I kind of felt like I Tried was just the same type of song that Bone Thugs did back in the day, and Fuck You Pay Me was just kind of childish lyrics almost. That one was a little bit reminiscing about childhood, a little bit too hard for that one. That one's just off the Wiz Khalifa song like I was talking about. There's a couple poor beats on here like Desperado and Oh yeah, some of these R&B beats like High and Thinking About You, I kind of felt like it's interesting to kind of get some of this sing-songiness that Mike Bars can kind of do some of this Drake type vibes, but I kind of, it's interesting that Mike Bars can do some of these R&B type songs like the Usher song and the Frank Ocean song and that type of stuff, but it just didn't quite pull it off in the sense as much as I would have liked it to. It just was kind of, I found myself wanting more songs like There Will Be Blood and That's My Name more so than more songs like Thinking About You and High and some of those type ones. But it is on here. If you do need like some Drake type tunes for ladies bops and that sort of thing, it is on here, but I just didn't see it quite nearly as effective. I kind of felt like Hit 'em High was kind of a poor beat. I'm not sure if that was the song that's already on another album, but I didn't enjoy that one as much. Just was not quite as compelling. And like there were some kind of homely songs on here like Desperado and The Fighter that were just kind of poor ones that just didn't enhance the project that much, I would have to say. And then I kind of felt like I didn't really like the beat that much. I think Hot was actually a new song on here that was like an original production. I just didn't appreciate that one as much. Didn't really have jump off the page. That's kind of the thing about it. Just some kind of ones that just bogged down the energy. I definitely feel like Mike Bars needed more songs with a little bit more bite to kind of step out. I think on a debut project, you gotta have like, I would say to complain about this project that there's just some variety on here that just doesn't work that well and just kind of gets in the way of like the overall showcase that this project is trying to have. I definitely think that they needed more songs just right off the bat that were kind of like There Will Be Blood and even more songs like That's My Name. I kind of feel like there's some good moments on here, but the energy is just very fleeting and kind of sporadic, and just the concept of how some of these opportunities are kind of missed is just kind of a disappointment because Mike Bars needed to build on his energy like that. And that this is kind of the thing where you just get some of these. He can definitely rap, and that's a good thing, but I just feel like he just has a bunch of missed opportunities where he could have carved out a bigger lane for like some horrorcore type vibes with There Will Be Blood. He probably could have established some chemistry with some folks like Swizz and some of those type cats. And there probably could have been like some nightclub songs on here and some cruising songs and some of those type moments. There's a lot of mixtape songs on here that are good and they showcase like Mike Bars' songwriting as far as that's kind of concerned, but not when the song sucks or when the song just doesn't fit for Mike Bars or the song is just not a good choice to kind of have. It bogs down and just slashes a quality song that could have been on here. And there's just some moments that you look after it just being able to say that I feel like Mike Bars has the skills, but it just is the concept that it's just not conveyed properly. It's not conveyed properly, and the execution as to how that's kind of shown is just kind of poor. So that's just kind of the thing about it. This probably could have used more songs that could have showcased like some stepping out moments, some better flash, and just some overall kind of varietized moments that could have had more edge towards it, that just could have had more compellingness. Definitely needed more liveliness, this project did, and it just didn't have a lot of strengths in that. There's just some, yeah, like I was saying, some poor mixtape choices and just some kind of filler kind of song topics and themes that just didn't work that well. So me liking basically 9 songs out of 17 on here. I'm going to go ahead and give this mixtape like a 6.25 out of 10. Like I liked it enough to be able to say within that prospect there is some good moments on here, but I really do feel like Mike Bars is just lacking on like sheer hit catalog. I feel like some of these are good, but I just question like the degree as to how affable these songs would kind of be to like casual formats. I think definitely There Will Be Blood as a winner in terms like the magnitude that song reached, but I think for the most part most people would definitely think of him as like a one-hit wonder, which probably leads me to my social score. I would say the social score I'm going to give like a 4.752 because there are some moments on here, but I kind of look after it, the concept about it, there's not really like a second best song in terms of like the immediacy. There's not really like a second or third best song in terms of immediacy values just for something that casual fans would kind of pick up and just immediately fuck with like that. And I just would have to say it's some good stuff on here, but it's just kind of more in a hardcore, you have to really be looking for it kind of sense. So 4.75 social. In terms of the future, like I know Mike Bars at least dropped a mixtape in 2018. I don't know how many full-blown projects he has, but he has at least 2, and he might have done more. There might be some stuff on Spotify if you look hard enough, but this is some good stuff here. But I just would have to say it's a solid, decent enough project worth purchasing. You can get some Mike Bars kind of merchandise and that type of stuff. But I just would have to say it's kind of patchy just in the sense that it just doesn't follow up like the strengths that he has.